So to put a number to it, probably 40 students per grade level to start in year one. Okay, that one came up especially often with in the early years presentation. How does that factor into admissions? On the form, now this year we've gone over to an online system. Paper held out for a long time here, but I think we finally defeated the paper base. So we have an admissions tracking system called Open Apply, and so I can see this here. How does it work? You would be informed via email if your application has been selected by the electronic selection procedure. Okay, so the deal is that inquiries are in for the most part, and then if you are selected through the random selection process, you will be invited to get onto Open Apply and to complete the application form. There's also a checklist. There are different documents that you have to submit. It's all electronic, so no more paper files and things like that. There's a checklist. You must complete the checklist. So it's not just the form, it's other documents that you have to submit. And then from there, then we move to the interaction phase. Right? But it's all online, and I think we've become quite adept at navigating things like this in other areas of our life, so we're hoping that, that this is pretty straightforward for parents. Okay, so there's an example, and again, sorry that it's blurry and that it's a little faint, but there's an example of the checklist. That's what the interface looks like. And then you'll see on the right side, there's status buttons there that say whether it's been submitted, whether it's still pending, things like that, to keep you on track. Okay, we've entered into the really dangerous phase of the presentation, which is question and answer. I'm going to leave you two at the front, and I'm going back to my office. No. We will circulate with microphones, so if we have questions that we can, so that everybody hears them. So please feel free.
Do we have an option to choose which school we want, either the one here in Goregaon or the one in Jogeshwari?
Yes, that's a very good question. You do. I neglected to mention that. On the application form, there's a question where you can express a preference for either this campus, the other campus, or no preference at all. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I couldn't understand.
So going back from here, what is our next step? Do we have to register the details online? There's an online form, or do we have to wait for the computer-generated random selection to happen and we'll be intimated and then add the details? Okay. Good question. Again, the inquiries are in, correct? We have our admissions folks hiding in the back. Interesting choice of seating back there. Just kidding. So yes, the inquiries, if you've already inquired, then we'll be going through. Has everybody in here sent an inquiry in? Yes. Yes, that's right. So at this point, we have all of those, and then we will, so you'll be, to answer your question specifically, you will then wait to hear from the school that you've been selected to move to the application phase. Okay, and those dates apply that I just showed up there. So we're looking at somewhere around October 28th. Yeah. Hello. I'm here.
Ah, yes.
Like this new school, which is opening till 4th grade.
Yes.
For the coming session. So next year, what are the plans like? Like I have two kids. One will be moving to 2nd grade, and one in 5th grade.
Okay.
So right now for the new school, it's opening till 4th. So I mean, what are the plans for the coming years?
Will that elevate by only 1 year each, one grade each year, or more than that? So
I don't know the answer for certain, but I don't think it's going to be 1 grade. I don't think we're going to feed 1 grade up each year. Otherwise, it would take us the next 20 years to fill the school. So my suspicion would be that in the 2nd year, we would start with a full primary up to grade 5, and probably the start, at least maybe the first or the first 2 years of the middle years program, and possibly even grade 11. Okay, that is not, please do not take me at my word on that. But that is my suspicion. We're not going to add it 1 grade level at a time.
When you mentioned that the parents will actually have to make a choice between OIS 1 and OIS 2,
yes.
Effectively, this is an application process for both the campuses, right?
Yes, it is. The intake is being done all at once. So it is, the application process is for both schools. Yeah.
So when you say that you have an option to select whichever school you want, say I choose OIS 1 and you don't have place in the school, do I then get an option to go for Jogeshwari? If I say that no, I have already chosen OIS 1, do I get an option that you can take the admission in OIS 2 or no?
I'm thinking that you will be offered admission into one school or the other.
But if you don't have place in OIS 1 at that time, and if that is my preference, I don't get to go to OIS 2?
My guess is that you will be offered admission to one campus, and then it will be because there won't be, and the likelihood is it's going to be the second campus. It'll be the new school. Because I can tell you right now our capacity is 600 and we're sitting at 596. That's how full we are here. So really we're going to be filling a very small number of spots here, and then we're going to be filling the sections at the new school. The other thing is that there's a lot going on right now. Some of this is not fully formed. We also have students from here that may choose to move down there. However, we're not really betting that that's going to be a high number of students, right? Because they have friends here. Obviously, where they live is a big factor in which campus they would choose. So there are a lot of different factors. But what we've decided is we will do intake for all of the candidates for admission to primary. And then from there, when we get to the offers of admissions, my guess is that you will have an offer to go to one of the campuses.
Would you have all the infrastructure ready in place for the school to start by next year? And second is about the teachers. Are you going to move some teachers from here to that school, or there'll be a completely new set of teachers?
For the teachers, that's a possibility. We may have some teachers who elect to move down to the new school, and we're still very much in the planning stages with that. In terms of the building will be complete overall in terms of the outside structure. But really, I think from what I understand, it's going to be the first 3 floors that are more or less finished completely on the inside. But there will be certain things that won't. So we have the auditorium in the new school is going to be on the ground floor, and that will take a year to finish. So it won't be open for the first year.
But what about the other facilities, like a pool or a tennis court? Or
some of them, yes, but that I don't know for certain. That's more of a question for the architects and the developers. But I do know that, I mean, it's not going to spring from the ground fully outfitted like this school, obviously, but we will add features within the first couple of years.
Is this going to be only here?
Hi.
Hi. Okay, you're talking about 2 facilities or these 2 schools?
2 schools.
These are 2 different schools.
Yes.
I mean, so probably when you mentioned the 2 different campus. Okay, so you mean to say these are 2 schools by 2 different managements? Physically, 2 different managements will be there?
No, I don't think so. I think it will be 2 campuses, the same school, the same management structure, not 2 separate.
Okay. So it's going to be 1 school, OIS, and then 2 buildings. That's it.
Yes. Yeah. That's actually a really good question, because we have talked quite a bit about that, and I think our sense is that we want to make sure that what we're doing here, we've been very successful with what we've done here. We want that to exist in that second location. And I think the best way to do that is to make sure that we have a cohesive, coherent overall structure that will make sure that we replicate what we do here down there as well.
I'm applying for my 2 children. One is applying for grade 1 and one is applying for grade 8.
Okay.
Now, what happens if the grade 8 he gets admission here, and for the first primary grade, probably he has to go to Jogeshwari.
Yeah.
So, are you going to conduct the facilities that are in this school? Will it be accessible for my other son, in case it happens to be that he can access these facilities? He can come and have play in the playground here, or I mean, I just need to understand that.
Sure, that's something that we're looking into. For example, will students be able to come up and use some of the structures that we have here, either a pool or the field, and I think there's going to be some synergy between the campuses, and so I would say that's definitely a possibility. If you have 2 children that you're seeking admission for, and one is in grades that are covered by the new school and one for grades that are not in the new school, then we'll have to see how that works out.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, ideally, we don't want parents with kids in separate locations. We think that would be the preference of the parents to have both kids on one campus.
Okay. So I hear you saying it's not an option, it's more of a preferences,
Yeah.
right? Which campus to choose?
Yep. It's an option or a preference. I think we want to know what your preference is.
Yeah.
But
That's
ultimately,
better, right?
like I said, it's not going to be simply based on the preference that you would express. There are decisions that we have to make internally as well.
Okay. I also hear you saying, nevertheless, the other campus, which is YAS2, will necessarily not be ready in the full-fledged operations, right? When you start that.
There will be some spaces that are not operational. Yep.
Correct.
But classrooms, obviously classrooms will. Some of the shared facilities will. I mentioned the auditorium will not be complete. We know that. The upper floors, which won't affect primary, won't be complete. That work will go on over the next year or so, and will be ready by the time the enrollment is taken for those upper grades.
Okay. And for that readiness, we'll talk to you or we'll talk to the architect?
I don't know. I think the architects would get mad if they suddenly
No, you just mentioned
getting
it.
phone calls from parents. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's over realty
Okay.
and their function on the project. So I'm not super involved in terms of what's going to be ready exactly when and what that's going to look like. But I do realize that that's going to factor into your decision. I just don't want anybody to come away from here thinking that their kid's going to be in one classroom and everything around them is going to be a construction site. That's not what we're intending. All right, so don't quote me on that. Yes.
Hi. Yeah.
Yes, please.
I actually have a couple of questions. One, I'm not too sure that the basic inquiry form that we filled was the inquiry process that you're talking about. Should I assume that all of us who are sitting here have filled that inquiry form?
Did you fill it on the website?
Yes.
Yes, that's the right one.
All right, cool. So that's question number one.
Okay.
Two, what about the pre-primary classes? Do you also have that in OS2? Or because I have two children, the elder one's probably going to go to grade 3, and the younger one's just going to start off. So just want to understand if you have both the options in OS2.
Yeah, nursery through grade 4 is what the plan is. So nursery, SKG, JKG, SKG, and 1.
Yeah. Okay. So no play.
No place.
All right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, we have one question up here.
Yeah, question on the classroom strength. You mentioned 40 students for each class, which is, I guess, split into 2 sections or something?
Could be. Yep.
Okay, and this is what you propose in the new one. What's the existing structure?
What's the class size in 20 per class?
Okay, and when students move from, say, pre-primary, which is, the junior KG and stuff like that, in class 1, do you, intend to extend or increase the strength in the current OIS 1?
No.
It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. We have, just to give you an idea, what are the class sizes?
They are around
In,
20, we
early
don't
years?
extend about 20. So we
New sections in
we
class
have
1.
around 16 right now. 16. What? 16.
Per class.
6 sections. So our strength currently for kindergarten is 110 across 6 sections.
So when you move from senior KG to class 1, do you increase the class 10 from 16 to 20?
Maybe it would go to 20, yeah.
So every section gets more students?
Yeah.
If your question was, the new school starts with 2 classes per grade, will that increase? Yes, it will. Over time, the 2 classes will become 3, will become 4, up to 6 sections per grade.
Question was more towards OIS 1, where, that 6 sections, do you increase the section strength? No.
No.
Okay.
No, we're set.
And the second one was on OIS 2. You mentioned, auditorium is going to take time. I know you don't have much clarity, but what about the other services like, the gymnasium and the other physical activity?
My guess would be, and of course now I have to guess, so I'm in dangerous ground here. My guess would be by the end of that first year of operation, I can see that the common spaces would be more or less complete. So if the idea is to expand enrollment in the second year, which we would obviously do, and draw in some of the upper grades, then I think those spaces would be complete. Does that mean that the building will be 100% complete by the start of the second year? So by fall of 2018? I don't know, but I mean, these are people that do massive projects, so my guess, I would probably bet on them, yes.
We have a question.
Good morning. Thanks a lot for such beautiful presentation, all three of you. I'd like to ask you a question on acceptance rate, because you seems to bring such transparency. Can you tell us the acceptance rate that you have?
Oh boy, from a numbers perspective, what's the acceptance rate? The number of students who apply?
Yeah, so we have actually a lot of applicants coming in. So as Stephen said, we're going to have 2 divisions within the school. So that makes it 40 for each grade. And so
It depends from year to year on how many spaces. In large part, I mean, if we're looking, let's ignore the new school for a second. I know that's very hard to do because that's what most of the questions have been about. If we ignore the new school for a second, and we're looking at primary here, there are technically 4 spaces right now. That's it. 1 through 5.
Okay.
So what that means is that 1 through 5, we have 20 kids in each grade. 20 kids in each section, 6 sections per grade level, so 120 per grade level in grades 1 through 5. So that's we have space for 600 students here. We're currently at 596. So if we were just taking admissions for OIS 1 for the current campus, that would be a very low acceptance rate, I would imagine. For OIS 2, that changes things. I don't know if I can really give you I don't even know how to calculate a figure based on that.
I can understand that.
Yeah, it all depends on, the historic, we've been growing every year, and so I think largely it's dependent on how many spaces we have, how many applications we choose, we choose to randomly select. Because if we have 4 spaces, we're not going to allow the sale of 120 applications. Am I right in saying that? Why would we do that? That would be awful. we'd be really bad human beings for doing that. So I think in large part it depends on how many spaces that we have. And like I said, we're looking at, in the primary school, at least for OIS 2, somewhere around 40 spaces per grade level. That could be more. We're also kind of in uncharted territory. We don't really know what the demand's going to be. Looks pretty good from where I'm standing, but we're not exactly certain.
Thank you.
Just one question and one clarification. And before I ask the question and clarification, thank you for the material so far. Extremely differentiated and pretty engaging. My clarification is with OIS 2, all the accreditations of OIS 1, are they all applicable? And I think there was implicit in the question that he asked.
Okay.
So is it the same campus? Is it just 2 different campuses and the accreditations apply for that campus as well? Or you have to freshly apply for that campus?
We're looking to figure out if any of those are transferable. My sense is that it's a new school, a new campus. We start over in the accreditation process, which means that we will secure authorization to offer these programs in due course, but we will start with them. So Tony, can you share more about PYP? And
we will have to go through the authorization process.
We would need to go through that authorization process, which in a school that is starting up as a PYP school happens right from the start. When you decide that that's what it's going to be, you go start on that process, but it will take 2 to 3 years to become fully authorized in that school. But it will be authorized, pre-authorized from the beginning.
Which means we can start teaching that program. And this is what we're currently doing with MYP. where our authorization is next year. We started teaching the courses last year. And so we're building our PD, we're building our resources up to so IB has said, go ahead and get started. In 2 years' time, which we elected to do, we wanted to do it slowly. In 2 years' time, we'll come and visit, see how you're doing, and if you pass muster, we'll authorize you to officially offer MYP.
Okay, great, thanks. And my second question, and actually this is slightly from a long-term perspective, what's sort of the mechanism in the school to identify a special talent in a kid? And let me give some background of why I asked the question. So my international experience tells me that in international schools, apart from teachers, there are constant observers around who identify special talent, and the talent could be not only related to education in terms of numbers as you speak. Is there a mechanism in the school, and at least in OIS 1, to identify that special talent and then take that forward?
So, we believe students can be good at different things, and we also firmly believe that in primary years, we're giving them exposure to as many things as possible. So we do not want to say at senior kindergarten, my child can play football very well, and I'm going to put him for football coaching 6 hours a week, where he's not tried other sports. So similarly, our PE program, we have sports every 6 weeks. There is a different sport unit. So till grade 5, we want to expose them to as many things as possible. So if you are doing keyboard at home and you say that's the only instrument my child is going to play, and I made a choice for him when he's 5 years old, and he's going to stick to that choice and not explore any other instruments, that's not the philosophy we believe in. So be it a music unit or a PE unit, our focus is to expose them to as many things as possible. As far as academics is concerned, if you think your child is doing pretty well in math or is very good in language, we try to meet those needs as much as possible in the classroom through differentiation and, like I mentioned, through grouping and regrouping. You want to add to that?
The primary years program is fantastic for catering to all talents of children, and in terms of supporting those that need some extra help and those who need some extension. So through the units of inquiry that Veena talked about earlier, there is plenty of scope for that. It is not something that we would do to pull out a child in grade 2 and say, you're fantastic at this, we're really going to promote you in that area. That we are looking at the broad-based education, and we believe that that specialisation comes later on, not during the primary years.
We have a question right up here.
Hi, I just wanted to know at OIS 2, is there space for any kind of an open field or playground or none at all?
We're working on that.
By which you mean?
By what I mean, we have a plan in place to have open spaces, but it's something that's still in progress.
Okay.
And actually, my question, I'm here.
Yes.
It's an extension, to the previous question. What are going to be the infrastructure differences between OIS 1 and OIS 2? And OIS 2, I'm hoping that you would be aware of the long-term plan of your, the entire architecture of the school. So basically, if you're offering 5 facilities here,
yep,
in terms of, tennis court or swimming pool, etc., is it going to be the same there as well?
Same, and in some ways probably better. We have, and if you think about it, this has come out of some of the conversations that we've had in recent days with the architects. This, in some ways, was a great test case. And now that it's full, we can see how things are working. And so it allows us to build certain things into the plan for the new school that we weren't able to do here because we couldn't see 10 years into the future when it was designed and built. So for example, we have a 400-seat auditorium here. There it's going to be 619 seats. We will have 2 pools, 2 competition level pools, where we have one here in the secondary, and in the early years it's more of a water play area. It's a pool, but at OIS 2 it's going to be 2 pools that can be used for competition.
Okay, thank you. And we actually missed the first 10 minutes of your presentation, so we don't know what's the exact location of OIS.
I shared all the secrets in those first That's why we insist on punctuality. No, I'm just kidding. It's going to be on JVLR, just past, if you're traveling east on JVLR, it's just past Oberoi Splendor.
It's past Oberoi Splendor.
Yeah, on the, if you're traveling east and Oberoi Splendor's on the left side, it's just, there's the Prisma development, and then OIS 2 is just beyond that.
Okay.
I'm told it's above ground at this point.
You mentioned about competitions. Yeah,
Wait,
I'm
so I
right
know
here.
where you're going. Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, you mentioned about competitions. Somehow I've always believed that OIS does not believe in competition. But now, right now you're mentioning you have a state-of-the-art competition, swimming pools and stuff. So what, which fields do you look at competition and you don't look at competition in the school?
That's a really good question. I'm glad we can take a break from OIS 2 for a second. I think that's a key point. I think that, for us, competition is binary. There's a winner and there's a loser. And if you win, that's wonderful. If you lose, it kind of stinks. And I think that our goal, and this ties into the last question about special talents and the holistic, I mean, that's one word that I didn't use that I now regret in my presentation. This is a holistic program. And so to take Tony's response, that specialization, we push that out. This notion that a student's going to join in grade 9 and is going to fill up half of his schedule with science, that doesn't work here. We don't allow students to do that because we believe that they need to experience everything. And quite frankly, I don't see a point in kids specializing until they leave here and they start to focus on their university education and then later on a profession. And I'll tie this back into the question that you asked. Yes, we will have spaces where we can host competitions, sporting matches between schools, which we think is part of being a school and participating in a league of schools in the city. But we don't generally promote competition between kids because it's just, I think it's hard to get away from the binary part of it. And I had a conversation with a grade 12 kid a couple days ago who's applying for university, and he had an interview scheduled with one of the U.S. universities, and so he wanted to do a mock interview, wanted to practice. And so I asked him, tell me something about you, and he shared the story about how he always thought he was going to be a professional football player. Now, we know what the odds of that happening are for any kid, anywhere around the world. They're minuscule. But he went to a summer camp, I think he said after grade 9, and he experienced competition. Kids who were in other places around the world who get much more exposure, much more time, and he realized his great understanding was my skill level is just not where it needs to be. And so my question to him was, where did you go from there? How did you pick up the pieces? Because as a 14-year-old who had his mind set on this dream, all of a sudden he realizes it's probably not going to happen for me. So there are all these other things. This is why we work against that idea of specialization. You need to do a little bit of everything. You need to come out of here a whole person, not just someone who can only handle science or math or whatever that is. So yes, you're right. To go back to your question, we don't generally promote competition between kids. We think that there's so much more to the school experience, the educational experience, than putting kids in competition with each other.
But when you go abroad, or you're looking at, maybe getting into a college, they do look at other activities and how proficient you are at it. They look at, you've done like your SATs and everything, but they want you to be better at something else. How do we trademark that then?
So my answer to that is, if you're looking, most of our graduates will go to the U.S. for university. I'm from the U.S. I understand that system. I understand that mentality. My answer to that, and my wife is a college counselor. She was here before, but she left. So I get a lot of this through osmosis. What are these colleges looking for? Yes, absolutely. They're looking for a commitment to something. But that commitment should not be equated with something that they're eating, drinking, sleeping, doing round the clock. They're looking for maybe some activities that they get really involved in, that they pursue out of a passion that they have. Not, I had been playing competitive baseball since age 3, to the exclusion of all else in my life. That's definitely, it's a nuanced thing, but that's what they're looking for.
Steve, if I could just add on to that, just very briefly, we all know that children are naturally competitive, and human beings as a race are naturally competitive. So we know that, and we harness that in the classroom, but we do not pit them against each other, because our belief is working together collaboratively. If you're looking for that edge and a child to be taken at this age and seen to be into a highly competitive world, then maybe this is not really what we're going to be able to provide for you. So there's a decision that you might need to make regarding that.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, yes.
My question is more logistical. This is again for OIS2.
Yes.
Now, my child is going to get into grade 4.
Okay.
And that school is going to be till grade 4. By the time he finishes that year, do you think the other grades which you said, 5, 6, 7, or maybe more, would you have any kind of a BERT or a plan which would also be transparently shared, which gives us an assurance that on grade 5 he again doesn't start hunting for the school?
Yeah. I don't really know how to answer that question except to say I hope you don't think we would have been kidding grade 4 and then turn around and say, by the way, there's no grade 5. Joke's on you. No,
I would have just 1 year to look into, and I would wait for your mails.
I think what I picture happening is, so you have those 2 sections per grade level. The subsequent years, those grade levels expand and move up. And so grade 4 kids then move into grade 5 the next year. Like I said, I don't think the plan is to add 1 grade level at a time after that. There's definitely some strategy to how we can start up the different programs, MYP and DP, in the subsequent years. But
would it be the subsequent year or would it be years?
It depends. It depends on what that looks
like.
Wouldn't
the project or the architect share some sort of a plan which says, okay, I'm going to be ready with the building by this time, I'm going to be...
Yeah, I think it's extremely safe to say that, we've already done this once here. Yes, in that second year, we'll look at moving those grades up, opening a couple of other grade levels. Again, it all depends on the market, but our enrollment is extremely healthy here. We have waiting lists at different grade levels. I don't see any scenario where we wouldn't be doing that. So yeah, if your kid gets into grade 4, I'd say it's 100% safe to say they will be at OIS2 in grade 5. and then on. So you decide you've had enough.
Let's take the question at the back.
Yes, I'm sorry to neglect you guys.
When would be the new facility open for us to see, and being a different location, will the commuting part be extended to areas where right now currently the buses and all don't go?
We would extend we would have bus service for students.
Yeah, you would be having, but to the areas, being the location different, will the commuting facilities be extended to the areas where the bus don't go right now?
Yeah,
it's closer,
right? The pool, and I'm sure that arrangement.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that will be the school open for us to see?
School will be open for parents to see. Oh! No, Bindu.
So I'm Bindu Oberoi, and so the building is going to be ready around May next year. And
you okay?
May next year. So I mean, you might not be able to see the building, but yeah, it's already with the construction already on, and the building is almost on the 5th floor right now on one side, 3rd floor on the other side, and that's where we are today in OIS2.
How soon do you think you'll be done with the entire, like in how many years or whatever, you'll be done with the entire...
So in the next 6 months, the whole building would be ready. Actually, everything would be ready.
You mean structurally, not
structurally,
like...
the whole building would be ready with the facade and stuff. So you won't, the building will be fully ready.
Right.
Only thing is the interiors of the rest of the areas will happen in the next 6 months. So by the end of the year, following year, it would be ready.
Okay, and what about like facilities like for up to grade 4, right? You have. So are whatever relevant facilities are for students up to grade 4, are they available to all of
Yes,
are all of
everything should
those
be there. Yes, everything, because the big pool won't be ready because that's on the terrace.
Right.
The multi-purpose hall would not be ready, but we have still younger kids, so we don't have the secondary school coming
so
in.
things that are relevant to them are going to be available.
Yes, yes.
You also mentioned in the presentation that there is no testing of any sort throughout the year. So is there not like any annual test assessment even?
No.
Not in primary.
Not in our area up to grade 5.
And after that?
After that's a different story.
After that.
Another kid who is like grade 6, so how's the...
You have to excuse me because being new, I'm just trying to get myself around what's happening here. But in terms of testing later on, the DP exams, diploma exams certainly are something that they work towards. And at the end of the PYP age group, there is also a culminating activity there as well.
So let me just clarify when you say testing. So external testing you mean, like how they happen. So internally we will have our formatives and our summatives. It's not like we are going to be okay, nothing. Yes, we are going to have our formatives and summatives. They will be reported to you through PTMs and through their portfolios. You have the rubrics coming home, yes, so all that. Yeah.
Also, the inquiry process for the secondary year, the similar thing when is that happening? I haven't received a mail on that. So relevant here, but
for the secondary,
Secondary, we don't have spaces in this school. I think only grade 9 is happening at 12 o'clock. If you would like to, yeah. And I mean, right now there's no spaces in this school from 6th onwards, but you can still, send in your inquiry form, and whenever there's spaces, school will contact the parents.
Okay, so is there an inquiry form for that separately? Because I have a child who's going to go in grade 6 and then one who's going to go to grade 1. So I'm thinking of applying for both of them together. What we're talking logistically just works a little easier when both my children are together. So how do I
Same inquiry form.
So
you can say it's the same inquiry form. You have to say that you have siblings, I mean 2 kids, and that's it.
Okay, so online. So we've not got any email confirming that okay there is.
Waiting for the sessions to get over, I think, and then once that is over, then the school would
then we'll get to know.
information on all that.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, fee structure be the same in OIS too? The fee structure?
Yes, it is.
Same.
Hi, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation and explaining the philosophy of the school. My question is, my child is going to go to grade 5, and since there are only 600 seats here, and the new school will, I'm imagining that it won't have a grade 5, only up to grade 4. So I think I just wanted to know whether that school would have a grade 5 if there are so many applications. OIS too.
I think that.
So that's what again we'll see how the inquiries are. We currently here don't have grade 5 seats here. As we said that we have a lot of moving parents in the school.
Right.
People get transferred and all that thing. So there might be spaces here, but very few. And in that, we have a lot of inquiry in that. We will see how the inquiries are coming, and we'll extend it in that school. I think that's the last year actually. So preferably we wouldn't want kids to come in grade 5 from other curriculum, because it's very difficult for them to really adjust and understand what PYP is all about, because that's the last year of PYP. Am I right with you?
So it means that mostly only if there are open spots here would the child get in. Thank you.
Up in the back?
Yeah, I have a question.
Quick question.
Currently in OIS 1 school, do you have the IGCSE checkpoint exams in grade 9?
In this school?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do currently, but not for much longer.
Okay.
So we offer, in fact, for next year, we're going to take in our last IGCSE cohort in grade 9.
Okay.
So it's a 2-year program in 9 and 10.
Right.
And that eventually, so that'll be the last year that we take in. And what we found is that the IGCSE program is not really compatible with what we do in the primary and then what we do in the DP in 11 and 12. So it's extremely content focused, it's extremely subject specific and exam oriented. And so we've decided that doesn't really fit with our philosophy. And we have kids come out of PYP in grade 5, and they learn all these wonderful things, and they engage in inquiry learning and transdisciplinary learning, and then they get put into an exam-based curriculum. And then we expect somehow to take them out of that in grade 11 and reintroduce them to the IB philosophy. So that's why we made the decision a couple of years ago to pursue the MYP, because it bridges that period much more effectively than IGCSE does.
And to continue on that, even earlier the MYP program was not recognized by your Indian education system, and the kids who were doing the MYP program could not go into any local colleges.
Correct.
But that is now recognized, and that's also one more reason why we are actually adding the MYP, because now if the kids want to go anywhere in India also can apply to local colleges.
Thank you.
I think Steve, we take 2 more questions.
2 more questions. Who has the microphone? Yes, sir.
Continuing on that question, does not having IGCSE exam impact admissions in India for +2? And this is more just to understand for me to have my kids' options open, whether she wants to go out, whether she wants to continue in India. So not having IGCSE, does it impact admissions in +2 in India?
So that's what is now open. I mean, MYP is recognized now by the local colleges around in India. So there's no problem if the child wants to apply to any local college in India or wants to go outside India.
So it's a proper certification that goes through even in MYP.
IB is working very closely right now with the Indian governments to make sure. So we're looking at different subject options. But if your child is in primary, I'm figuring it out that in 6 years from now, yes, you'll have things in place.
Thank you.
I think it's already there, I think. I mean, MYP, that's what they have got the recognition from the Indian government.
So we'll take the last question. Somebody has a
Hi. Sorry about the logistics of it. Again, there's some confusion about whether the inquiries have been actually received. What we filled up was that the inquiry form.
Yes.
I checked with my wife. She's not received any email saying we've received your inquiry per se.
So the inquiry is just that your intent to kind of wanting to admit your child in the school.
Right.
The school is already looking at those inquiries.
So how will we know whether we have?
So you will. That's what I mentioned, that after this whole the parent sessions are over, the school will give you all the
Before the 28th?
Before the 28th? No, I don't think so.
Then if we haven't already inquired and we receive this email for some other reason from some other mailing list, how will we know whether our inquiry is being considered or not?
So you will get full information. No, if you've intended to be in the school, something will come to you saying that either if you applied for this school, if there are spaces available, then they would obviously ask you to come in.
Should I just fill up the form again in case I don't remember?
No.
But
it's in the mix. It's in the mix.
Maybe I'm not being clear here. I have no confirmation from
I think
the
what
school
you're saying
that
is that you fill out the inquiry form, but you didn't get a confirmation from the school that the school received it.
Automated email, sir.
Sorry?
You should have got an automated email.
Well, we haven't got one, so should I fill out the form again?
Yeah, in that case, you need to fill out the form again.
Okay, so the invitation for this event is not a
No, but if you've got the invitation, then surely your form is there.
Okay, super. So that's good. How many inquiries have you received? That acceptance rate question, I think, can be answered because there are 40 seats there, and if you receive 10,000 inquiries, then it's going to be very low.
So we haven't got the real number, but yeah, the reason to start the new school is that we are full here and we have a lot of interest in parents who wants to join Oberoi. That's why we're extending the same school to another building.
Understood. Understood. And lastly, there's the interview process and the selection process. What do you look for? Is there a criteria? Are there criteria that you set, or is it a little bit more kind of ad hoc in that sense?
No, it's definitely not ad hoc. I would say, I mean, I'll take the first crack at this. I think the reason why we're doing the presentation, in the past, I think, especially the secondary presentations, we used to talk about the program. This is IGCSE, right, or this is DP. This year, I think we've focused much more on this is the school, and this is what we believe. And so I would say my first response is we're looking to make sure that what the parents want matches up with what we believe in and what we do. And there has to be a link there. Because if we have parents coming in who say, I want my kid to be in a high-pressure, competitive environment, it's not a good match. And I think that's the thing, that's the key, is you have to find the best fit for what you want and what your son or daughter wants. So that's part of the process, and that comes generally during the interaction.
And we're not going to sit the children down and test them, but there will be conversations that will happen just like we do in the classroom. So we're looking at collaborative getting together, which would be exactly the same as what we would do with the parents. So
And there are
there'd be a
report
group
cards
of
from
adults
previous schools?
and a group of children, two separate places, with my staff will be working with them.
Okay. And the report cards from previous schools, academic performance?
That would be needed, but that's not the criteria of what the child would be admitted in. Actually, as what they mentioned is that they would, it's more of
Super.
the
You'll be
right
making
fit,
up your own mind about the child.
the right fit in the school and the right fit for the child.
Academic year start in OIS 2.
Same as here.
August, yep.
I manage a mic. Guess I can ask a question.
Yes.
Yeah. Related to the previous one. So, is date of birth a hard cutoff in the primary years? Let me explain. Like my child is in grade 3, going to grade 4.
Okay.
And she was born in the month of December of the qualifying year. Now, had she been applying for, say, nursery in this school, I've seen on some part of the website that the cutoff is July or August. But now that she's already in grade 3, does it mean that she will qualify for grade 4, or no? Will you look at the fact that in the qualifying year she was actually in December and not in July, not before July, August?
No, we have our age criteria which we are very stringent about.
And
I wouldn't know at the top of my head. But
It's at the beginning.
31st May or 31st July?
First
Jan.
But it was 15th August last year.
Yeah, it is 15th
So
August.
there's just a grace what they give in 15 days, but actually it's July. It's 31st July to August 1 is what, August 1 to 31st July probably. But I think they do look at like 10-15 days up and down, depending on the child and the development of the child. That's especially in the nursery.
yeah, so Bindu, is it for all the years or is it only for the nursery, you're saying? Like, will that apply for a grade 3 child going to grade 4 also?
So all the years, I think, and I think probably even when with the testing and stuff, initially we used to do testing, now it's going to be more of interaction kind of thing. So there we would see the skills of the child, and I think initially we were doing that, but I think Tony has a different view on that. So
as an international school, we're looking